This is Chris Parker. Chris Parker has decided to give up on life after receiving the millionth comment about Google Cast confirming Toby and Andrew. Chris has told his audience many times how unreliable Google Cast is, but continues to receive the comments. It don't matter if he brings up Hugh Jackman in Endgame or James Spader as Ultron in WandaVision. The comments will continue to pour in, and the only escape for Chris Parker is to jump. No one truly knows what happened to Chris that day. All we know is that he found peace. I'm Morgan Freeman. Hit that subscribe button, y'all.
Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on another episode of Side Flick. My name is Chris. Really appreciate all you guys who go ahead and tune in to Side Flick every other day when movie news piles up. Really means a lot to me. I get to geek out and discuss some movies with y'all, which, speaking of which, some of the stuff we're going to be talking about here today is more delays on some of our favorite movies that we were like, hey, what the heck? Godzilla vs. Kong's killing it at the box office. Why y'all delaying stuff? A live-action Invincible movie in the work after the success Amazon Prime is having with it right now. Even a Thundercats movie in the works. That and so much more, guys. So many of your opinions down below with everything we discuss here today. Give me your thoughts on what news got you the most excited. What didn't you care about at all? Have you seen Godzilla vs. Kong yet? Or are you holding out to watch it this weekend? Ooh, I know, man. It's a struggle not to just pop on HBO Max and see it right away. Use a strong one. But speaking of which, if you have seen it, I got a spoiler review for you already. Go ahead and join me in there and talk about it, especially with who won in that fight. Alright, so jumping into our first movie news story here is one that got me absolutely excited, but also surprised. Is we have here Netflix shilling out the amount of money they just have from being the biggest streaming service around, and they have it here that Deadline is reporting Netflix near $400 million deal for Knives Out 2 and 3, Daniel Craig and director Rian Johnson reprising. Essentially what you have here is Netflix went ahead and paid $400 million so that they could have the exclusive rights to Knives Out 2 and Knives Out 3 for their streaming service. I also find this funny because if you've been following a lot of the movie news lately, the past couple of months is one Daniel Craig movie they were trying to get rid of to Netflix. They were trying to sell it for about this amount of money, and Netflix was like, "Ooh, that's too expensive." But you know what? Two Daniel Craig movies, Knives Out 2 and 3, we'll take that. Again, if you're someone who hasn't watched Knives Out, I highly recommend it to you. It is essentially a murder mystery movie from director Rian Johnson, and I know there's people who just hate hearing that name because of The Last Jedi. Get that out of your mind, because this guy actually is a great director, and he crafted an amazing mystery here that I highly doubt you will see coming, and that ending will surprise you. Not only that, it was also filled with an amazing cast, and that's kind of what we will expect from 2 and 3. But looking at the business side of things, I'm just like, Netflix, how do you make your money back on this? $400 million just for the rights of the movies. That's not the cost to make the movies. That's just so that they can have them on their streaming service. I think this really goes to show you what people want to watch nowadays when they tune on to Netflix, because that's what Netflix tends to produce nowadays. Whatever they see in their analytics that people are watching over and over, that's what they're going to make. So that's the reason we had the We Can Be Heroes movie, which was the sequel to Shark Boy and Lava Girl, because Netflix saw every time Spy Kids was on their platform, people were watching the heck out of it, so they essentially made their own version of a Spy Kids movie. And even with that Adam Sandler deal, where Adam Sandler sold his soul to make all these Netflix movies, the one with the best results was Murder Mystery Party, and I think that just goes to show you, people love watching little murder mystery. I'm really excited for this, even just with the fact that this June, they're gonna start filming Knives Out 2, so that means next year coming around, you'll get to watch out Knives Out 2 on Netflix. I just wonder what the cast will be, because the only returning character is Daniel Craig, who is just this amazing Sherlock Holmes type detective. So you know I'm just waiting for the announcement of the cast members involved. Tom Holland, just bring him in there, okay? Tom Holland for everything. Let me know what you guys think of Netflix wanting to buy the rights of Knives Out 2 and 3, and who would you want part of the cast? Jumping on to some delayed movies here. We got 3 big budget movies that recently got delayed that it's like, ¿por qué? First off here, we had the Mortal Kombat movie being delayed 1 week. It moved from April 16th all the way to April 23rd. And I don't think that's that big of a deal. It's 1 week. I think they even did the same thing for Godzilla vs. Kong before it came out. But speaking on Godzilla vs. Kong, I think that's exactly the reason this movie moved 1 week, is because we're seeing a lot of analysts project that Godzilla vs. Kong is going to do very well at the box office. I know even me just checking out some of the tickets, there are just sold out screenings left and right in my area, and tons of people went to go see it in theaters the way you should. I think the studio's realizing a lot of people are going to be watching Godzilla vs. Kong until Mortal Kombat comes out, and they just wanted to give it that extra room to earn some money. And at the same time, since the world is looking slightly healthier, 1 more week makes all the difference for more people to be willing to go out to a theater. So this makes a lot of sense to me why it would happen. The next one up that shouldn't have been a big surprise either, because we all expected it here, is Resident Evil, entitled Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, which is their reboot film on the popular video game franchise. They also delayed their movie all the way to November 24th. Now, the big reason because of that, their previous date all of a sudden got taken by Shang-Chi, which of course anything Marvel is just gonna destroy the box office or just suck up all the money that weekend. There was really no other thing the Resident Evil movie could do. It was just smart, especially since I feel like they're both in the same sort of category. They're both action movies. At least that's what the Resident Evil movies have been, is action films. I hear this time around, this Resident Evil movie is wanting to be more of a horror film than straight up action, which I am loving. And in this time right now with the box office still not being 100% healthy, movies really need to separate themselves and not be coming out back to back. The only one that was just kind of odd to me and didn't make that much sense right here was Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, was delayed 1 week also. So they went from September 17th to September 24th. No clear reason as to why. My only thinking on this is just they just want that extra wiggle room. So the more people go to the theater and buy tickets, I know people are really looking forward to Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. I know I am, just for the fact of having Carnage in there. But Sony has just been the studio that is so hesitant to release their movies because they don't want to do any streaming. They don't want to do on VOD. It's theaters or nothing for them. So hopefully we get some marketing come this summer for Venom 2, because that would be the time to do it. How did you guys feel about these delays? Which one made you the more upset? And can you think of any reasons for why some of these movies delayed? Speaking on something that I know is just going to make the older side of my fan base very happy, is we have the announcements of a Thundercats movie. Now, it's being reported here by Deadline that director of Godzilla vs. Kong, Adam Wingard, is set to helm the Thundercats movie for Warner Bros. It's so funny that this news came out because literally last week I was having a conversation with my father and he straight up asked me, do you ever think they'd make a Thundercats movie? Because he's just a big fan of Thundercats. It was a TV show that was on when he was a kid and it was just his jam. So of course, nostalgia being a thing, he would want it to happen. And I was like, you know, I don't know. I think the time has passed for that. And then little do you know, it's happening right here. So there you go, Papa. Hope you like it. Now, I gotta say, I was kind of fascinated with the details involved with this Thundercats movie because I obviously thought, oh, it's gonna be live action. They're finally gonna do it. The Thundercats property, even though there might not be a lot of younger people who are aware of this brand, I think it's an IP that has the potential to be kind of huge, just because I am familiar with the basic story of Thundercats, and I do think it is something cool. But the details involved here go as the project has been developed by Rideback's Dan Lin and Vertigo's Roy Lee. They were the producers on Wingard's directed Death Note. With an early script by David Cogshell, Wingard will rewrite a script with Simon Barrett and will turn this into a hybrid of CGI and animation. The series focuses on a group of cat-like humanoid aliens who live on the dying planet Thundera, and the Thundercats are forced to flee their homeland. So there you go, the Thundercats movie is coming out, but it's gonna be CGI animated, which maybe might be the best way to do it, to get all those unique visual styles out and be able to create some of the worlds they were wanting, because like I said, I don't know how many young people out there know about Thundercats and would be willing to watch it, that I think a Thundercats live action would be pretty expensive. Animation might be the way to go, and the IP can be refreshed for a whole new audience to fall in love with, specifically kids who are the main targets for most animated movies. But this is dope nonetheless. For you Thundercat fans out there, are you willing to watch this Thundercats movie even if it's going to be CGI animated? Diving into something I have a little personal interest in is the Rocky franchise. And over the last couple of days, we had Sylvester Stallone take to his Instagram to let us know he is in development of a Rocky TV series. Now, I know immediately hearing that you're like, a Rocky TV series, but in the age of things streaming left and right, they are trying their hardest to find some content to put out there, especially if it's attached to an IP, one being Rocky, that is still a franchise that's currently running, with Creed 3 set to come out very soon with Michael B. Jordan. That's technically a Rocky franchise. It makes sense that this is probably one in the works. Now, the details on this kind of have me interested because it would be a prequel. Sylvester Stallone showed his notes about the pitch he made for the Rocky TV series prequel, and these are some of the things he had to say on it. Imagine a time machine that will simply transport us back to the origins of Rocky. A cinematic world brimming with characters that have been beloved by people around the world for nearly 5 decades. Climbing aboard that time machine, we will take us to the most transformative generation in modern history, the 60s. Needless to say, the 60s was a dynamic time. So this would essentially follow a 17-year-old Rocky and his life, I guess, growing up with a not big of a bright man as he is on his journey to become a world star fighter in the future. I don't know how I feel about this because I am a big lover of the Rocky franchise. I just hold such a special place for those movies. I love watching them. And I also think the Rocky character can only really be played by Sylvester Stallone. Like, he made that role iconic to, like, who would you cast to be 17-year-old Rocky, and would he even have that same charm that Sylvester Stallone was able to bring to the character? Also, would you even make a TV series about Rocky interesting enough? What would that be about? Like, is there really something there that could hold my interest? But for you Rocky fans out there, do you think there could be a compelling enough story to tell for a Rocky prequel TV series? Cast Tom Holland as young Rocky. April Fool's Day, y'all, come on. Moving on to something that has recently become my biggest obsession, and that is the Invincible TV series on Amazon Prime. Now, I really quickly just want to plug this show because it is absolutely amazing, and the more eyeballs that watch it, the more chances Amazon Prime will not cancel this thing, and I get to enjoy more and more seasons. But this is a show on Amazon Prime, and the best way I could describe it to you is a rated R, sky-high TV series, okay? Don't let the fact that it's animated bother you. I'm telling you, give the first episode a shot, and by the end of that first episode, you will have your jaw to the ground going, what the heck did I just witness? But the reason I'm also bringing up this animated show on Amazon Prime is because they are set to make a live action adaptation from it. Now, like I said, there is currently an animated show adaptation on Amazon Prime, but this first started off as a comic book series that has always been praised for being one of the best graphic novels out there that people need to read. It's created by Robert Kirkman, the same guy who did The Walking Dead. But the creator also went ahead and talked about what their plans are with the live action adaptation that Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, the same people responsible for the Boys TV series, that already, you know, the way they handle that show, they're gonna handle the live action movie just as good. Well, Stephen Young, the voice of Invincible, wouldn't mind saying that. I think Stephen is far too old to play a live action Mark Grayson. Working with Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg on the movie, I think that when the movie comes to be, you'll see that there are vast differences, and the starting points are going to be very different. And so the kind of story that we're telling in the film version is much different than the kind of story that we're telling in the animated version. And you'll see the two coincide and coexisting, but being very separate. So I wouldn't expect any kind of, you know, there might be some casting crossover. I think that would be a fun thing to do. There are a few actors I think would do really well as the live action counterparts, but yeah, the two things are very different. This has me fascinated for one of two reasons, because not only is everyone saying who has read the comic book Invincible to now watching the Amazon Prime show saying, like, it's almost exactly like the comic book, like word for word. The dialogue in the comic book is essentially what the animated show is, and that's why people are loving it so much. The fact that they also want to do a live action version, like, how much different can you get, or how much can you stray away from the animated or comic book before it just becomes something people have seen again, or it's so different people don't even recognize it and are like, why are you making this? I'm definitely interested to see how this turns out, but like I said, watching that animated series makes me want a live action movie because it would just be bloody, gory, and the action-packed superhero film I think we're all looking forward to. To you guys out there who are watchers of the Invincible show, are you excited for the live action movie? And if you haven't heard of this yet, will you be checking out the Amazon Prime show? But that is all movie news I currently have going on right now, guys. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video and support my channel. Really means the world to me. Be sure to leave your opinions down below. Tell me what you thought of all the news going on today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, please. I'll even be dropping an episode on the podcast channel here where I expand a little more on some movie news that I haven't talked about on SideFlick. Some spoilery thoughts on Godzilla vs. Kong. That'll also be the place where I'm going to start doing recap shows after every episode of Invincible, because that's how much I'm loving it. So be sure you guys tune over there. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.